The Long Beach Community College District Board of Trustees meeting is resuming. Please take your seats. Hey, where'd everyone go? Did Tom leave?
Ouch, that sounded not good.
We'll keep going.
That sounded not good.
Okay, as I was saying, as I said, our academic senate, we're going to skip over agenda item number 9 of academic senate because she's not here. Now, agenda item 9.1, superintendent present update on the campus smoking regulations.
Yes, thank you, Board President Otto. As we know, the board has directed staff to begin working out the details of policy to be brought back to the board, and we've begun that process. So I don't know if Vice President Gable or Peterson has any specific comments about how that process is going, but I would welcome your input.
Yes, both Vice President Peterson and I are working on trying to develop the enforcement piece of the regulations. So we will be revising the policy. Dr. Peterson is working with the students and making sure that the students are on board with whatever enforcement regulations that will be established in response to the change in the smoking policy. And then the change in the policy and the regulations will follow the normal district procedure, which means that it will go to the President's Leadership Council for review and approval before it comes back to the Board of Trustees.
Great. Good. Anything else on that? Not. Agenda item 9.2 are the superintendent president's report.
Yes, I just have a few brief updates. First of all, I want to let everyone know that we are having a great event that's sponsored by the college along with the Latino Faculty Association. We are welcoming Dr. David Hayes Bautista. Dr. Hayes Bautista is an influential social scientist and professor of medicine. He recently wrote a book, Cinco de Mayo, An American Tradition, will be the primary focus of his discussion about the relevance to American history of that event. So we're welcoming him. He's a native of Los Angeles, received his BA from Berkeley, and has done many, many wonderful things throughout our community. That is happening on April 25th in T 1100 at 5:30 p.m. So we hope everyone has an opportunity to attend. We're very excited to have him on campus. Number 2, I just want to give you a brief update. The Student Success Task Force Initiative that has 2 bills that have begun their progress through the legislature. Senator Lowenthal's bill, SB 1456, and Senator Liu's bill, SB 1062. Those are the 2 bills that Mark Taylor discussed with the board last time. Both of those bills got out of the Senate Education Committee on unanimous votes and are now on to the Appropriations Committee, and we expect that those will get through that process as well. So thus far, both of those pieces of legislation are moving through. Finally, I know that there's been much discussion about my discussions with Santa Barbara City College, and I just want to make sure everybody knows that I pulled out of that process, and so I'm no longer a candidate at Santa Barbara City College. I realize that may be good news to some, bad news to others, but that's where it is. So we can stop talking about Santa Barbara City College.
Thank you. We're going back to agenda item number 9, Academic Senate. I understand there's no items or reports.
Yes, that's correct.
Great, thanks. We go on to academic affairs, 10.1, child care fee increases for 2012-2013. Let me get to that. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the proposed fee increases for the Child Care Center effective July 1, 2012. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Agenda item 12, student support services. Understand there's no item, no report. Administrative services, resolution, agenda item 1213, which is a resolution concerning cash flow from the Los Angeles County Treasurer. This is an action item.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees adopt Resolution 042412C to authorize short-term borrowing of up to $85.4 million from the Los Angeles County Treasurer. Henry, can you briefly tell us why?
Yes, this is, as President Oakley was mentioning in the previous presentation related to our budgeting, where he mentioned that our reserves do not equal our cash, and the fact that the state continues to borrow more and more cash from districts. In essence, they're just not paying us what they owe us. So in order for us to maintain our cash flow so that we can pay all of our bills on a timely basis, both this agenda item and the next agenda item is giving us authorization to borrow from the county treasurer if we get in a bind, and then the next one is to borrow from ourselves for cash flow purposes. As the board knows, we typically, not typically, the past 2 years we have been forced to enter into some short-term financing to cover our cash flow needs as well, known as TRANS, or tax revenue anticipation notes. The reason that we issue TRANS rather than strictly borrowing from the county treasurer is any funds that we borrow from the county treasurer must be paid back by April 30th. Our lowest cash flow months are in May and June of any given fiscal year, and so we enter into TRANS so that we have our cash flow moving forward to pay our bills.
How much do we anticipate that this will cost us based on the deferrals and everything else?
This current fiscal year, we actually issued 2 TRANS. We issued one in July, and then we issued another one in March, and it's over $400,000 that it costs us.
So in essence, not only is the state not funding us in the ways that we've discussed ad nauseum tonight, but by this little legal prestidigitation about how they fund us with the money that they do fund us, by deferring it, it costs us $400,000 a year.
Correct.
For this year anyway. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda item 1214, resolution cash flow temporary interfund cash borrowing. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number, did I just read this one? Or?
No.
Okay. 042412D to authorize short-term borrowing between funds of up to $16.3 million.
Move approval.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Any questions? If none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Approved unanimously. Pacific Coast Campus, Dr. Breland. Understand there are no items, no reports. And then item 14.1 report. Oh, we just did that. We did that. Then we're back to the Academic Senate. Item 16 is we were going to do an update on curriculum and student success initiatives from the Music, Radio, and TV department. I understand that's going to be rescheduled.
Yes, since the hour is so late.
Okay.
I would like to speak for a moment, though. These are very difficult times at LBCC, and we're profoundly worried about the budget cuts and about the layoffs. So how can we get through this? Well, for now, we're looking at the students. They're going into finals with their usual unbridled optimism. They hunker down and push forward. They're leading us with their stability of achieving academic progress. They may be naive, but they work hard even if the task is not surmountable and the grade they desire is out of their reach. Like our students, we need to achieve our final grade, which is our ability to hold together. The messages we deliver to each other are not pleasant, but real leadership is looking beneath the message to identify the concerns and to find solutions. Like a final grade, it may not be surmountable, but it may be within our reach. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Communications. Roberto.
Yeah, I just returned from the the American Association of Community Colleges recently, and I'd like to give President Superintendent Eloy Oakley kudos for his participation in the Commission on the Future that association put together. The report went out, when did it go out? Tuesday? Wednesday?
Saturday officially.
Yeah, Saturday officially, and it's basically a roadmap for community colleges in regards to what's going around the country in regards to student success initiatives. It is a very bold report. The commission was very self-evaluative of community colleges. Hard questions were asked. There was a lot of discussion about where community colleges stand, not only in their own communities, but nationally. And one of the challenges that it presented was, number one, was access to students to community colleges, and it was part of the discussion we're having here tonight, and eligibility. And I haven't had an opportunity to really dissect that report, but everybody was very enthused with its completion. It was a very ambitious commission effort that took place, which our president superintendent was a member of, chosen out of a few thousand presidents around the country to participate in this. And maybe, Elo, you could give us just a brief outline of what those were.
Yes. Now, basically, the Commission's report tries to deal with the myriad of pressures that are being thrust upon community colleges and to provide a roadmap, as Trustee Uranga stated, to reshape and reinvent community colleges. That is troublesome for some, but the Commission's work puts a focus on reimagining and reinventing the mission of community colleges to ensure that there is a focus on supporting students getting into the workforce with quality credentials and in greater numbers. Despite the lack of funding throughout the country, despite all of the troubles we're facing, to ensure that our community colleges do everything they can to reinvent themselves in this environment to provide not only that access, but to ensure that students complete those educational goals in greater and greater numbers, and in particularly across demographic spectrums, so that we ensure that we close achievement gaps that clearly exist and continue to exist, and skills gaps that prevent our students from successfully navigating the current and future economy. So that's essentially the basis of that work, and AACC will follow up and working with both trustee organizations, faculty organizations, administrator organizations to try and move our community colleges and our nation forward in that direction.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay. Any other trustee communications? I'd just like to thank everybody that came out tonight on a very difficult agenda item for all of us, and thanks for participating in this democratic process. Oh, yes. And due to construction issues on the Pacific Coast campus, our June 12th meeting, which is not our next meeting is on May 7th, but our June 12th Board of Trustees meeting will be moved from the Pacific Coast campus to the liberal arts campus here. And so we'll let everybody know about that so there's no mistakes made, but we wanted to announce it at the things.
Trustee Member Otto.
Yes.
The next meeting is May 8th.
I'm sorry, May 8th. I don't want you showing up on. Yes. No, it's not. We're not going to have the June 12th meeting at PCC. We're going to have it here. We're not going to have a May 7th meeting. We're going to have a May 8th meeting, and that will also be here.
And Trustee Otto, if you don't mind, I'd like to propose that we close the meeting in memory of 3 Long Beach City College family members that recently passed, Karen Galvan, Paul Choi, and Patricia McIntosh served the college in various areas for a number of years, and they all recently passed.
Okay. I'll be happy to do that after we do the public comments on non-agenda items. Public comments on non-agenda items. We first have Gavin Centeno. Here? Oh, he's a lightweight. He didn't make it. Melinda Manlow. Jeanette Hund.
Good evening, President and Board of Trustees. You know, I've been here at Long Beach City College for 15 years, and I have certainly never seen the morale nearly where it's at right now. I had some calls from faculty in the last day or two, said they couldn't be here to speak, and I wanted to just remind us of the words from Pastor Martin Niemöller from Nazi Germany, World War II, sort of added some words. First, they came for the students, and I didn't speak because I wasn't a student. And then they came for the staff, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a staff. And then they came for the adjunct faculty, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't adjunct faculty. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. The sad thing is that people spoke tonight. And
You know,
I'm frustrated.
I think,
Okay,
I
thank you.
think that I'm offended by that. I got to mean, if you're comparing this board to Nazis, that's pretty much what the implication was of what you just said. So you better clarify that.
I said the words,
That was inappropriate.
We know who came for us.
it's freedom of speech.
It's fine. Yeah.
And, you know, I'm just wanting you to know how people feel.
It's fine. That was a
And,
statement about the
I
Holocaust.
had faculty who
I
told.
think it's extremely inappropriate.
Okay, and, okay,
Extremely
I
inappropriate.
understand.
Okay.
And I have one other question. I heard earlier tonight that there were 12 management that were laid off. And I wanted to.
Are you speaking to an agenda item now?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Christian Caldera. Our last speaker. Now, Mr. Caldera, you're going to talk about promised pathways and learning communities. I think you've spoken to us on this subject twice before.
Oh, no, this one's interesting. You might want to hear this.
Yeah, I'm just asking if you've done that twice before.
It's about learning communities, basically what's happening. So, pretty
go
sure
ahead.
I
Please
have
go
5
ahead.
minutes. Yeah, I just want to make sure, because what just happened with Janae Han is really, really unfair. You know, I basically wrote a 3-page paper about this, about what's actually happening with the Promise Pathways. Trustee Kellogg, Trustee Uranga, if you guys want to pay attention about this, basically, the Promise Pathways is basically taking out the programs of Sankofa scholars, and then you have Puente. Now, Sankofa scholars benefits African American students. From my understanding, this is the last semester that this school is going to have that program benefiting African American students. Now, right now, my friend Sacomo Bennins, he's right there. He got accepted to UC Irvine and Cal State Long Beach if it wasn't for that program. And now, the students who are there right now are not going to have nothing. That demographic is not going to have nothing anymore. Now, with Puente, that's really amazing. From my understanding, I heard they're only going to have one more year left, meaning fall 12 and spring 13. That's really interesting because, from my understanding, I think that didn't we just got a $600,000 grant for Illumina? And now we're saying that we're going to be supposedly cutting it? What is the Promise Pathway actually doing? It's basically having consequences of the current students. I cannot urge more stressful. Superintendent Oakley, we talked about this at the forum, whether or not learning communities will be correlating with the Promise Pathways. Now, from my understanding, that's not going to happen. Trustee Otto, Mark Bowen, Uranga, Kellogg, this is really, really discouraging for these learning communities to be cut and left out. These are two minority groups who we need in this college that need help, just like the honors programs students need help. And usually I have things more organized and speak about this, but seriously, I'm speaking about this from my heart because I am a minority as well too. This is really discouraging. This is my last meeting. I just got accepted to Cal State Channel Islands and I'm going there. And it's really discouraging of what just happened right now with these number of staff getting laid off as well. Besides a student, I work at the Career Center. And trust me, I work as well in a counseling office. Every single time we have around 600 missed calls, up to 1,000 missed calls. That's a huge number. I always invited you guys to come with me during the first day of classes, just to make sure how you guys know how we feel. And you guys never responded at all. If you guys are with the students, then come suffer as us as well too. I always ask you guys never responded. Now, Superintendent Oakley, you did respond with that forum discussion, which I thank you. But I think the Promise Pathways is not doing no favors to the current students at all. And I wish more students were right here seeing what's being taken place, because more students will speak about this. But the thing is, more students are not here on Tuesdays at 5 o'clock. And what all I wanted to do was just basically plant a seed in these students to understand where I'm coming from. Because, like I said, these students, of these current students, they're not part of the plan. So why should you inform them about that? Because the future generations from the Promise Pathways, those are the students who we're basically trying to attract. Now, what's really, really interesting, though, was the first incentive of the Promise Pathways. You guys basically offered BOG waivers. Well, you guys said that the 80% of students qualify for the BOG waivers. So now, who are we attracting if that much of the school basically gets offered from that BOG waiver? We're using that as an incentive, which was really, really amazing. And now we're using power registration. This is not Santa Monica, but this is a dangerous game, trying to offer power registration to these students. It says that we're going to be offering English and Math, Counseling 1, and Learn 11 to get power registration. But with me, I have the Promise Pathways Mutual Agreement. And one of the bulletin points that says that the students who are coming from the Promise Pathways will have guaranteed enrollment power registration on their student ed plan. That ed plan could be psychology, biology, anatomy. I believe there's something wrong with this Promise Pathways, and I believe there's something more to it that I can't say, but I believe it's actually happening. So I will wish that you guys will, at least members of the board, would at least address this to the students of themselves. And Superintendent Oakley, I don't think our questions that we raised have been really actually answered at all. It's basically a political answer, just going around circles and not being answered at all. This is my last time, so thank you for you guys for listening to me, if you guys have or ever had, but thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we are briefly going to adjourn to a second closed session, and then we will come back and adjourn the meeting, but for all intents and purposes, that meeting's over.
Doug, as we're going to break real quickly, but I mean, there was comment about to the previous speaker, and I applaud what Doug Otto did. I mean, some of you may not have appreciated the fact that it may have been harsh, but there are certain things you don't take out of context, and 6 million people never coming back from a genocide with Nazi Germany, and to make a reference, and it is in poor taste, and probably the fact that I'm Catholic, but I can tell you that family members that disappeared on my wife's side. So when someone comes up and makes that statement, it's very offensive, not just to me personally, but to a generation of people. So I think it was appropriate that we made a comment to her, and if she felt strongly about it, and it was free speech, so be it. But also, we have that same speech to say, the famous lines, never forget. And that kind of comment, just I found totally inappropriate, and I thought what President Otto did was appropriate in his actions. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. We will adjourn to closed session.